So Chicago says to New York, if you don't want Kurtenbach, we're going to take him. So Orland Kurtenbach for Chicago's pick. Again, Chicago, they have a number of defensive forwards already. So they are going to take Kurtenbach here with their pick in the 10th round. A utility guy. And that leaves Montreal, Toronto, and Detroit. I'm going to say straight out as a Habs fan, I hope it's Toronto or Detroit, and it will be. Just because, again, I feel like Montreal's had the better, not feel like, I know Montreal's had the better wheel luck in this. So Toronto has Ab McDonald, Toronto has Don Marshall. They can't necessarily, I mean, they do have to take another center at some point. Toronto, yeah, they do have to take another center at some point. Let me remove Kurtenbach there from consideration. That's a pretty good dual position guy for Toronto, but again, they might look for fresh faces. So, hard to say here with Toronto. And he did play some of his best hockey in Toronto, so he might be a good one to circle back on as well. A couple of guys here, actually a couple of, like, they're not super old, a couple defensemen. Do they want to get tough on the blue line? It's, again, myriad consideration here, really there is. Okay, no, this guy, again, a couple of other teams had their chance and they didn't take him, so I'm going to take actually a nice prime defenseman here. Yes, I will. I'm going to take a nice prime defenseman here for Toronto in the 10th round, and that is... as soon as I find this card. And it rhymes with card, kind of. Not really. Sounds like card. Why am I not seeing him? Because I'm looking for him. That's why I'm not seeing him. And I see someone else who shares the same first name as him, as his. There he is. It's because he's closer to the front, that's why. Because he's a very good, viable prospect. And a bit of a ruffian as well. And Toronto might want that. Toronto might want to be able to fight back in some games. They're getting pushed around. So Noel Picard there to the Toronto Maple Leafs here in the 10th round. Picard to Toronto. And I realized too I'm doing it in the reverse order again. I wanted to do it with the THG way of writing things down and then removing my hand and revealing them. Although if I'm reaching around the tripod and holding my hand like this, that is harder to do. Anyway, so the Red Wings and the Canadiens, the red teams. I like that. I got 2 black, 2 red, and 2 blue, even if Chicago was using red jerseys primarily by that point. And Boston might have had the yellow, brown, gold, brown, come to think of it. So it is the Canadiens, of course. The Canadiens... Actually, I had again, Picard's another one that I sort of had in mind for the Canadiens, so... do they circle back on one of their own? I think they've already kind of replaced him elsewhere with someone else. That would be a good one going forward. I have all 6 teams next to this one guy, so therefore for that alone I should consider him. Nope. Montreal is going to add, I think, another veteran blue liner is what they're going to do here with their pick. Again, at this point, too, there are so many good picks in this video, and I'm already doing more than enough talking to stretch out the length of this video, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock in this pick. The only defenseman still left on this page here near to the front. Veteran, this could actually be a good, at least for 68, at least for this one and only season, could be a pretty darn good late-round pick there. Bob McCord to the Montreal Canadiens here in 1968. So Montreal, again, they added a lot of offense, a lot of guns in the initial 7 rounds of this draft, and now they're looking to, as Montreal does, they want to play defensive hockey as well. They want to be hard to play against, hard to score against. So just for stuff and giggles, Detroit there last up on the wheel. Detroit now, they have Goldsworthy, they have Martin. I think what Detroit does, because again, Worsley is, Detroit's going to take the first goalie here in the second half of this draft. And they're going to go with 26-year-old Wayne Rutledge because they have And I thought about circling back to a veteran like Terry Sawchuk, but then I am saddled with a pair of 38-year-olds. So Wayne Rutledge, pretty good numbers for an expansion Los Angeles team, and still only aged 26, 287 goals against average. And I'm 45 games there for the Los Angeles Kings. So it's going to be Rutledge to Detroit with the final pick in the 10th round. There now Detroit has 3 goaltenders. First team actually to have their 3. So they still think I want beer. And let's see. Okay, is it going to be Boston? No, it's going to be, please be Detroit. No, it's going to be Montreal. Okay, what can I do? What can I do? The wheel has spoken. I wonder if I can get defensively sound on the left side. There's somebody that honestly, just because he's been a liability in certain ways, having played with him previously, that I'm a little reluctant to take him. I know certain other teams would want him. Who can Montreal take there on the left side? They might actually go with, I'm not exactly sure where he was born, but the more that I look at that pick, yep. So Montreal's going to bring someone else along here who has the last name of a very significant Quebec, very famous. You could say he's the best player, best forward, certainly of all time, and I would not argue against that at all. I think there is a lot of evidence to support that. Pretty much everything other than longevity, though he had that at the end too. I think, Montreal with this pick again, they want to be hard to score against as well. They want defense up front, supporting the defense in the blue line. Let's take Riel Lemieux here with the first pick in the 11th round. So Lemieux to Montreal here with the first pick in round 11. And second up here in round 11, of course, New York. Of course, the win now teams get to draft first, right? Because that's fair. So New York, let's see. They snuck in Camille Henry. They're up to 5 blue liners now. And they were actually eyeballing Rutledge there with the previous round. I don't know. I think that they're strong enough with who they have right now in goal. I don't know that they take a third goaltender at this point. I think they feel secure enough with what they have. Dual positional, offensively pretty good. McGregor's been taken. Yeah. Yep, I think for the 2 positions, let me actually have another quick look at his card. But I think that, for the 2 positions, and it makes a lot of sense. His age, he's still relatively young, though he's played a lot. But he's got a decent card. I think decent veteran player here. Good acquisition. They're looking to Toronto again. And they're going to go with Murray Oliver here in the 11th round. So Oliver to New York. And it's Boston with the 3rd pick here in the 11th round. Boston. What do you want, Boston? Boston, again, you've got, I'm almost reluctant for whatever reason to bring certain guys back into the mix, especially given it was during years in which Boston struggled. So that might just not be, again, if this were real for whatever reason, that just might not be the best idea. It might not be something that they want to do. But if you don't think defense, including defensive forwards, and that's one of many things I could have mentioned and why I enjoy Hockey Bones, if you don't think that matters in a game like this, go and rewatch, go and check out some of the project that I just completed with this game. I'm going to take defensive forward Bob Dillabaugh for the Boston Bruins here in round 11. Dillabaugh, he plays center, left wing. Dornhofer plays on the right side there. So either Dillabau or Dillabov, because I know sometimes the OUGH it's off, or yeah, like GOUGH can be Goff. Anyway, I'll have to try to find some commentary, see how they say his name. So, with the latter half here of the 10th or the 11th round, one interruption there. Again, I can't do anything about those. They shut the camera off. I wasn't even going to talk about it this time. I just tried to come right in. So, Toronto here a little earlier than normal in the 11th round. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm looking, I guess right now, because there are so many good forwards still available, that I have become ageist with this. I do think Toronto at some point they have to acknowledge that they do need another center. And of course Oliver now has been taken. That would have been a good choice for them. So, yeah, I'm going to look, and Crisp is gone. Look at a few cards here. So, Howie Menard to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Howie Menard at this point. To be honest, too, this is a pick that I haven't looked up everyone. I have no idea. This guy, as far as I know, might have gotten injured and retired in 1971. But he does have a good card in 1968. So, Howie, good card, Menard going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you have Picard, Menard, and two more picks here in the 11th round. The first will be Chicago. I think Chicago at this point, then maybe what they do, a couple of different ways they could go, of course, as always. And it's funny because I hadn't thought of this guy for the Blackhawks, but now that I look at it, it kind of makes sense. Chicago probably wants to be not too far away from their next goaltender pick, just in case, I don't know, between Gamble and and DeJordy as well. They just, I don't need to explain or overly explain every pick. But Chicago is going to go with the goaltender. I'll write this one out even before I fish out his card. So a couple of spontaneous decisions here for the Blackhawks, including Charlie Hodge. He may not see a whole lot of time in the crease, but I mean, one of those things too, should DeJordy or Bruce Campbell struggle, then Charlie Hodge could see some time, could see the start. His numbers were actually a little better than I remembered, given that he played for Oakland. 903, almost a 904 save percentage as the Seals netminder. So again, if you're screaming at me right now that Hodge was taken too late in the 11th round, I don't disagree. So Detroit, and I remember the lonely wing actually getting the last spin, I'm pretty sure in the previous round, where they gobbled up their Wayne Rutledge, who's 26. Hodge is 34 at this point, so youth. And again, Detroit with the 38-year-old netminder already. They don't need a fourth netminder. I guess what Detroit needs to do is just maybe keep looking at youth. There's a guy that I almost took in Menard's place there for Toronto that Detroit might want to actually grab. So looking here now, they could actually circle back on one of their own who is still only 25, and that guy is only 26. He went to LA, but he's got some experience with Detroit as well. Yeah, you know what? That suddenly makes sense. And actually, I'm basing this on... So this is a guy who's doing really well right now. There's a user on Delphi, everywhere in Delphi. Sometimes I go to places in Delphi for like the first time, other hockey game sites, and it's like, wow, you're already here. And I'm talking about the guy who might be named for a Turn of the Millennium show, called an acronym for Can't Kill Yourself. This guy by the name of CKY. And one of his replays, this player here, this already kind of a veteran at this point, but he, let me fish his card out here while I'm talking. And I'm pretty sure he's related to someone else Nova Scotia born, who's maybe just a little too old at this point. That was another thing when I went back through the players before doing this here, the second half of the draft. It really dawned on me, it really occurred to me that a number of completely eligible players were not going to be drafted, but still at the age of 26 with 21 goals that season for an expansion Los Angeles Kings. I just broke that elastic. And we're going to go with Lowell McDonald here for the Detroit Red Wings. So, again, I'm trying to make so if he does have some breakout campaigns in the 70s, then Detroit will be there to be the benefactor of those. Unless they don't trade him first. I will permit trades in this thing. Weird as that might seem. Okay, so that is the 11th round done. So we go to round 12. Where we're going to get Detroit first overall in round 12. Yes. So all that time considering, whether or not I should take McDonald. For round 12, Detroit again. Maybe this is where they look to get a sixth. Do they have 6 blue liners? They have Wojtowicz. This is where I really have to be careful. I know that they protected 3. Okay, so maybe they're overdue for someone on the... Let's see, who do I have Detroit's name next to here in the blue line? A few different guys. Lots of talent still available. That would be a good pick if they're looking to get younger. That would be a good one too. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. This is where I should be pausing. I know. I will. To the Detroit Red Wings with the first pick in round 12, Joe Watson. Boston. Watson would have been a good pick for Boston, actually, as well. I had I didn't actually have Detroit next to, so maybe Boston takes who Detroit was considering. I'm trying to think, too. Boston. I mean, they got Bond. Bond is kind of the veteran on their blue line. They also have Orion Van Imp now. Yeah. That'd be an interesting pick as well for Boston. I think they're going to do it. Okay, because I can't see this guy. I'm pretty sure, even knowing that his career, I think because of the way he played, his career didn't last too much longer. I think this will be fun while it lasts. I think even if you're a Boston fan, you will agree with me with this one, that this could have been fun while it lasted. So I think what Boston will do here, again, just adding a little muck and grind and grit and experience here late. They are going to go with, because even if teams are just drafting with one kind of strategy in mind, they are probably going to deviate from it at times when good players are still available. And so for the Bruins, what I will do here is 117 penalty minutes in 61 games. I don't like having too many penalties in hockey games, but this guy might not slot into the lineup every night anyway, given their talent. But let's give John Ferguson to the Boston Bruins, because I'm sure that he and Montreal would have loved that, to see John Ferguson go to Boston. So there you go. The second pick. Maybe this is going to be a tough round. So a tough guy round. The second pick in the 12th round. So third up is Chicago. Okay, I kind of know immediately with Chicago then. So they got Bill, and they could have taken Bob right in around when they took Bill. So let's give the Plager brothers, 2 of them, to the Chicago Blackhawks, and maybe they will negotiate with Toronto. So, and I know I'm running out of time, and I'm running out of picks, and there will still be some good players left over. And there's no saying that I won't take a look at the rosters after all is said and done, and maybe make some changes, make some adjustments accordingly. Look at the free agent pool. But let's say if they've got Bill, they're going to go with Bob. So Bob's good to go here for Chicago with the third pick here in round 12. Montreal, Toronto, and New York remain. Where of those 3, it would be nice to see Toronto get another pick a little earlier on. I've said it, but it bears repeating. So, Toronto's going to take a guy that probably fell too far. I'll even write his name in before I grab his card. They're going to go with Ernie Brown. Ernie Brown is a defenseman that I had all 6 teams actually penciled in or penned in for him. I think that Brown would complement any team, and to Toronto he goes. So 26-year-old Ernie Brown. I think Toronto's done quite well for themselves here in the draft. The Maple Leafs, who a season after winning the Stanley Cup championship, finished 5th in that division there in 68. So they will take Ernie Brown here, and 2 more picks left in the round. So Brown in the 12th round, and it's going to be New York. So the Rangers. New York will poach Montreal with a goalie that I had in mind to take for the 3rd goaltender for the Canadiens. I'm going to give Seth Martin to New York with the reasoning, with the justification that, I mean, in addition to having a good card in 1968, by good card I mean he performed well for the expansion St. Louis Blues. I feel like a career minor leaguer like Martin, maybe, again, if this were all real, if you put him in a situation where he comes in, I mean, we've seen it before where guys, veterans, will come into the playoffs, you know, and will come in late in a season like Tim Thomas with the Boston Bruins back in 2011 and just kind of really show what they can do. And so maybe Seth Martin is in that kind of position now with the Rangers. Hopefully that makes sense. So because Martin was taken, I don't know, Dried into Montreal. Dave is available. Whoops. Let me, so Montreal here with the last pick in this round. Let's see here. They have a couple of guys south of 30, though. Maniago just barely. So, yeah, maybe, let's see here. This is round 12. Looking actually at Montreal's core that they have. Again, so many good picks, but I do want 3 netminders for every team. So I'm sure this is going to upset some purists here, some old-timers, fans of old-time hockey. Consider this like the Vladislav Tretiak pick. The Habs actually took Tretiak in like 1984 or something, but they're gonna get Terry Sawchuk here, which again, he might appear in a game if that. His card, well, 900 save percentage, so it could be worse. Card is not so good there in 68. There you go. It's round 12. Montreal's getting Terry Sawchuk. Weep. Read it and weep. So here with the first pick, getting ahead of myself here, sorry, momentarily. Here with the first pick in the 13th round. Second last round. It's Chicago. Okay. In case I forget to take them, Scouts, this is going to be a Scouts advisory pick. I've done a couple of these, actually. So, it's rumored that just because he had a down year, that this guy can get back. He's still relatively young. He is, I actually don't have his age penned in. Or no, I know it. He was born in 39. So he's like 29 going on 30 or 28 going on 29. I'm pretty sure he was born in 1939, this guy. So he's not young. But he's not old either in NHL hockey terms. And I don't have him on any of my lists, but I do have his card, and he was mentioned in a comment. So, Scouts advisory here to the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't always aim to please anyone other than myself. I do this for me, first and foremost, primarily. But you know what? Let's give Jim Pappin he had a bit of a down season, but a fantastic playoff. Let's give Jim Pappin to the Chicago Blackhawks with the first pick in the 13th round. Just staring there to see if I still had the camera paused. That's actually why I'm not pausing it as much as I know as I could to courteously cut down time in this video. It's that I feel like I fear that I could start announcing picks and not realize that I still had the camera paused. I wouldn't put that past myself to do it. So Detroit, nice to see them second up actually in the round. Detroit, they've got defense. They might, you know what? So this is going to be another case of they're just going to take a 24-year-old defenseman that they just about took in the round prior. Let's give Detroit an Whoops, I'm looking in the wrong folder binder here. Let's give Detroit someone they almost took the round before and think little of it. We're going to give them, from the Los Angeles Kings, 24-year-old Brent Hughes there to the Detroit Red Wings. They have their 3 goaltenders. They have lots of forward prospects. They might want to add one more center with the final pick, thinking ahead here a little bit. But, and that is a great defensive defenseman. Who's up next? Montreal, they like defensive defensemen. So, to the Canadiens, this guy's as much of a stay-at-home guy as McMahon is not. So, I'm going to write his name in there right away as well. And I should include a W because this will not actually be Larry. I'm going to go with the better card among the Hellmans, which means that I'm going to opt for 29, still 29 years old. Although that's a good card that I just passed up too. Maybe they change. We'll see here. But actually, come to think of it, hold on. Because okay, this might be the first pick, and I apologize if so. Is Montreal at 6 defensemen? Yes, they are. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm doing this live, and I'm not trying to do anything here underhanded. I have to be careful now because I do want... and for that matter, too, I have to be careful with the Blackhawks. I do want the 12, 6, and 3. The forwards I can sort out later. I'm not as concerned about that. If I end up having not enough on one wing or the other, then I'll make adjustments there. But Montreal, Wayne Hillman, I guess consider them the number 7 defenseman. So at this point, I think Montreal has to circle back to a couple of players. He had a really good card in 68, so this is going to be a case of good card, bad card. Yes, they have Jimmy Roberts, but should Roberts go down, they might, just because he was really good that season anyway, want to go with Claude Provost. So I apologize for that premature submission there, but I will do that for any other team as well. If I realize suddenly that positionally they are overloaded anywhere, again, I want to run a tight ship. I'm stringent about certain things, and this is one of them. So Montreal is going to get Claude Provost there, who really had a career year. It's criminal that because he's only 34. He's not that old at this point either. Provo could have been taken, he's taken in round 13. He could have been taken in like round 3. A lot of parity here with some of these picks here late. So Provo, and I'm looking at another good defensive forward who is the same age actually, who probably should not have fallen this far. So I know who actually might get him with the next. Anyway, next up. We're looking at New York or Toronto. And it's Toronto. So let's see here. They have Stanley, they have Horton, they have White, they have Brown, they have Picard, they have their 6. They need a third goaltender, does Toronto. So I did not have his name down. I thought about reacquiring Sawchuk, because Bauer and Sawchuk worked in 67. But Sawchuk isn't available. So this guy had solid numbers for an expansion team. Let's go with, I'll write his name out actually. Let's go with Les Binkley of Pittsburgh. Because I'll be honest, I've known for several rounds now, basically since before the end of the first half of the draft, who Toronto was taking with the final round. If you are a Leafs fan, if you are one for sentimentality, then do not worry, as I overlook some 20-goal scorers that might not just get drafted, period. But again, I'm looking even in the wrong folder here. For the goaltenders, .903 save percentage, goals against average under 3, in goal for an expansion team that season. Les Binkley will go to Toronto. And Binkley is 33, so they have what, like a 22, a 33, and a 43, about 10 years separating each of their netminders. And that's going to be just New York or Boston here to conclude. So the Rangers who have, that's Seth Martin and not Pitt Martin there for the Rangers. The Rangers, let's see, Harper Boyven, one more defenseman for them, I think, because just the three, and they didn't draft a defense in the first half. So that's the first guy I see that. Why would they want him? Just a funny feeling that they might. They might even circle. I don't see Wayne Hillman. They might even circle back on Wayne Hillman. Sorry if it's very wholeheartedly uninteresting to listen to me think aloud about these picks. But again, I am trying to be careful here. Yep, no, they're going to, for whatever reason, he's in his prime. They are in win now mode, and he has championship experience. So someone I almost took even as early as round 7. We'll give the blue line. I mean, they already have some offensive minded defensemen, but with the final, second to last pick rather, here in round 13, the Rangers are going to look to, if I can find his card. That'd be a good pick too, actually. But no. And that one. That's actually maybe a better pick. I'm going to look at 2 cards and then quickly choose. Yay. It's hard to say. Nope, this one. J.C. Tremblay. So the Rangers will take Tremblay here with... So they have Gilles Tremblay and they have J.C. Tremblay. A lot of former Montreal Canadiens, I think, on this Rangers team. And some players the Canadiens would have wanted to have drafted. So that's just Boston. Boston, they have their wheel luck has run out. Let's see, they have Ori, they have Van Imp, they have Bond. And I don't think they took anyone else. I hope not. Because if so, I'm going to be a defenseman heavy for Boston. But just in case they didn't, yeah, a couple of ways they could go with this. Yeah, really. Okay, just for really hard to say. And this guy went to an expansion team too. But he's a little more proven at this point. So Boston is going to opt for Moose. They're going to get the Moose, and I don't mean Mark Messier. Elmer Moose Fosco to the Boston Bruins here in the 13th round. Here he is. As I look at a completely good, valuable pick there for the Bruins. A bit better, clearer, though, than the guy I was considering. So Fosco here will conclude the round. So the final round, I already know who a couple of teams will take in this round. This one might have a bit of a different feel to it. If I can even get the wheel back open. And does it remain Montreal or New York? I'll have to think a little bit if it's the latter. It is New York. Huh. They have all the defensemen they need now, so they just need one more forward. So one more good forward. Again, so many. There's so many that they could take. I should not fear the fact that I cannot pronounce this guy's name, and he's still only 29. That's actually even a good move for a variety of reasons going forward, and defensively he's pretty sound. So, and of course now that I'm looking for him, I don't see him. I wanted to take one last quick look at some of his numbers. I guess I could find my way to his card more quickly. No, I see him there. He's still only 28. He had a good season for Philadelphia. He can forecheck. So I think what the Rangers... Oh, that's a really good pick too, though. Wow, now that I look at that one. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Again, there will be, I just have to accept the fact there will be good players that will remain undrafted in this, and maybe have to circle back and see about making some corrections. And that's a really good one too for youth. I can't believe that he will be undrafted, but potentially he will. Uh, yeah, this is it's getting really tough at this point. Really, it is. But this is a very solid card. A lot of shots on goal. A lot of shots on goal. So this guy here, Leon to the Rangers with the final. I think the Rangers have done very well in this draft. Sorry that I have yet to switch out this blue marker. It's the only one of its kind that I have. Others would be worse, if anything, if I tried to find them and fish them out from anywhere. So, yes, I know who they're taking right away. I'll even write his name out. Let's see here. Chicago. So defensive forwards will be, I guess, part of the theme here in the final round. Chicago is going to nab Eric Nestorenko, which again, teams would have been completely just looking for this guy in an earlier round. Eric Nestorenko to the Chicago Blackhawks. All right. And with Detroit, I might have to make some positional adjustments. No, Toronto. For Toronto, even though, again, there are going to be a number of undrafted players that are better than he, I think Toronto at this point, I've said this since before the draft, certain teams I think would have told players on their way out, like, look, if you're still available in the final round, and to be honest, even though he had a down year offensively, he still has a decent card and can play two positions. A guy who can play two positions can also slot in for injury relief also. So, I mean, anybody can play any position in Bones, but what it means, to the best of my understanding, if two positions are printed on the card, then it means he can slot into both equally well. So Montreal, I think this is, I'm going to put the H there anyway out of respect to the Rocket, but Montreal is going to take Henri Richard. Because Richard, actually, he had some bounce-back seasons before the end of his career. And he's good on face-offs. And again, now that I look, like, he and Armstrong, like, nobody's card is really, at this point in the draft, I mean, I wouldn't take him early. But for a 14th round pick, nobody's card is still all that bad. So Henri Richard it is here for Montreal. So why not protect him right from the get-go? I just decided to do the 7 and 14, just like how for future seasons I'm going to do a 14 protected and a 7 drafted to account for retired players, WHA defects, and just guys who have down years either on their card and or in this thing. And if I'm skirting reality a little bit, so be it. If I'm bothering anybody in doing so, sorry, but not too sorry, because it's, this is my thing. So Detroit with the final. Detroit, who already has, let's see, their blue line is complete because they didn't have Wojtowicz as well. They've got Watson. I hope they're not overloaded on the blue line. Detroit's going to be a team that positionally, to be quite honest, I'm going to have to double check because, no, they got Joyal. They got Poudra. And they got Pitt Martin. No, they're fine. They're fine. So Detroit's going to take, I'd say, the next best guy who's like 24 and still available. And I thought about taking him even at certain points in the first 7 rounds, and that's Ted Irving. Again, it's nothing, that this guy fell as far as he did. And what I might do is even run through who I didn't take, but it's not easy. So Ted Irving to the Detroit Red Wings, they're going to have a whole infusion of guys aged 24 to 26. But then they have Howe and Delvecchio up front. So I can't believe that. So with the first pick and also fittingly here with the final pick, is there someone sentimental? Does Boston look at a guy? I'm going to say names aloud as well. I'm no longer going to keep that secret. So does Boston look to a guy like Forbes Kennedy? Do they They took 3 defenders here, so... Oh, wait, Boston needs a third goaltender. That's right. So they have Doug Favell. God, there was a previous round there that I almost took a third netminder and then didn't. So there's Eddie Johnston. There's Dave Dryden. There's Hank Basson. And... And again, Johnston really suffered with them through some tough years. I wish I knew Johnston personally and the team's relationship with him personally, and whether or not he's someone that they would have wanted to circle back on at this point. Can I go with a Hank Basson-less league and a Dave Dryden-less league? And again, that's not excluding those guys from being drafted in a future season as well. So I think if this were real, I think with the final pick, maybe because he played for Chicago. Fosco and Dryden, a couple of Chicago players. Boston's just going to continue the meme, I guess, well before its time. Dryden is only 26. So they've got Favell, they've got Dryden, and they assume that Cheevers will be their guy. And now that I look at it too, Johnston's card is, at least for the goals against average, they're a fair bit better. So, yeah, it's going to be a Johnston-less and Basson-less league. I'm going to go with Dave Dryden. And I don't know if somebody struggles if a goalie gets hurt. So, again, to speak of Basson and Johnston, there was also Gary Suitcase Smith. He did not get taken. Roy Edwards, he's getting shellacked in my WHL replay right now. And then on the blue line, wow. Like, that's a solid blue line core right there. Dallas Smith, Al McNeil, and Larry. And if you're looking at me thinking, how could you? Remember, this was a 12-team league that I had to drain down to 6. And I might go through and make roster adjustments. I might, again, once I look at these teams on paper all at once, I might decide, you know what, Dallas Smith fits into a roster better than so-and-so. So, or if somebody has a terrible game, maybe they'll defect to the minors. I might even need sort of a taxi minor league squad. Kent Douglas had 11 goals and 32 points that season. For that alone, I mean, Kent Douglas, even though defensively not the greatest. Larry Hillman, Mizuk can block. Not a bad pickup. Bob Wall can play forward and defense. Noel Price. Marcel Pronovost, again, 37, but you could get worse for defense than Pronovost. Jared, I'm not sure. Again, I just don't know his career into the 70s. He was like 23 at the time. Was this as good as he would become for Chicago? Chicago thought they'd test other waters. Amadio can clear really well there for Los Angeles. Gary Doak, only 21 for Boston. Like, do you bring him in just to have him there? Odd Erickson, not a bad card. Wayne Hillman, you saw me write down for Montreal, and then I realized they were overstocked with defensemen. Maybe a team looking for a pure defensive defenseman thinks twice about a guy like Wayne Hillman, even with his 5 assists. And I guess, actually, that was the rest of that folder. Binder or folder, I'm not sure what you want to call that. Maybe a finder or a boulder. Gord Labossiere, I hope I said his name correctly there. Brian Campbell and Earl Engerfield. What do you do here? Some of the expansions, so some of the Charlie Burns with Oakland. I mean, Burns, that's a good card for a defensive center. Don Marshall, 49 points that season, 30 assists. Another Don there, Don McKinney. McKinney as well. He only played 39 games and had 29 points. So to be quite honest, do not be so surprised if, say, Detroit, for example, they look at their position and they decide McKinney, who is still only 33, hardly ancient, if he slots in, fits in somewhere. Parker McDonald, a bit old at that point on the expansion Minnesota. Again, old in NHL years. Probably still younger than I am now. Jerry Melnick, again, 15 goals and 50 points that season. Frank St. Marseille, 16 and 32, but in a shortened season. Britt Selby, who was like 22 at the time, 15 goals in only 56 games. Gary Jarrett, who 18 goals and should know the drill in Detroit. Reg Fleming, 17 goals to go with just, his being Reg Fleming. Sorry that Gary Iman did not get taken. Again, 19 goals, 44, and some good card there. You could justify it easily. I'm not... Schinkel should have been drafted. There's no... again, I'm going to have to look like a team like Chicago. It even has a nice ring to it if I'm saying his last name correctly. Schinkel in Chicago. Might have to look back and look twice at that one. Ditto Fontaine there with his 28 assists in just 69 games there, playing a season in Pittsburgh. So, and he can slot in on either wing. So Robinson under, like, this actually makes me think that even though I have 21 man rosters, I should almost like select a taxi squad, minor league, whatever for these guys. But then again, maybe not. Maybe it's to the first bidder, to the first taker, to whoever really is having hard luck mid-season. We shall see. So I just wanted to go back through some names there as well. Anyway, anytime, any consideration to circle back to an older and more long-winded ending that you want to give to something like this, I realize I've rambled on here a fair bit, just trying to have fun with it. Didn't really want the start-stop of pausing the camera too many times. I know I did it a few times, but that coffee looks more like iced tea now. Or barley tea, which is quite popular over here. In fact, if you're offered a glass of water over here, what you might end up with is barley tea. They consider it like almost like one and the same. So one and the same. So that's I don't know where I was going with that, but again, anytime that you give to something like this, well, it's never expected. It's greatly appreciated. I had fun with it. Hopefully you'd have, if you're taking the time to look at it, hopefully at least a little bit of fun. Sorry if I've upset, confused, bewildered, mystified, irritated, aggravated, or just otherwise just got you out of sorts here with any of my picks for any of these respective teams. I did my best. I'm not saying that I would have known what Milt Schmidt and Tommy Ivan and Sid Abel and Sam Pollock and Emile Francis and Punch Imlick would have known. But again, I did what I did. So, all right, cheers, thanks, and bye for now.